You've probably listened to a dozen of podcasts. They pass the time, sometimes they spark a thought, but a day later, you're right back to where you started. Now, it might surprise you when I say that you forget 90% of what you hear within a week unless you reinforce it or apply it. So, what if a podcast didn't just sound good, but actually helped you get better? That's the idea behind Build Your Edge. I'm Jack Cole, and for this first episode, I'm flipping the script. I'm interviewing Jeremy Burns, the creator of Build Your Edge, so that you can hear where the idea started, who it's intended for, and how it can help you sharpen up your edge. Let's get into it. So, Jeremy, Build Your Edge. What exactly is it?
It's a great question, Jack. So I've spent a career helping people, hiring people, managing people, and I know that there's a great demand for people to be able to progress. And the mission of Build Your Edge is to help people build an edge in their work, career, or life. So the idea is that with the podcast, we're going to have a stream of quality guests who come on, and they're all going to talk about something which the listener can, or the audience can watch and listen to, and then put it into action. And it's going to be quite different because I don't want guests who are just going to come on and talk about their CVs and their careers and what's going on in their company or opinions or anything. There's too much humble bragging going on. We don't want that.
Yeah.
We want people who are going to come on and who are going to think first about the audience and what they can share with them.
Okay, so what made you actually want to create this? And more importantly, what did you see that perhaps others weren't seeing? And in your opinion, like what actually isn't working in today's world when it comes to podcasting?
Yeah, well, the world's a messed up place right now. There's so much going on with
True.
AI. And I think, LinkedIn for people like us, if you're at work, if you're like you, Jack, if you're helping people into work, LinkedIn is the natural place. It's the natural playground where people go. They put up their profile, they post, they read stuff, and that seems to have gone really off track at the moment. If you look at it, every post is about, I'm a solo founder and I've raised all this money and I've got all this ARR and I'm a hero. And, look at me, I did my ice bath this morning. And, it's just, it's a bit unsavory, but it used to be.
It's not believable either, is it really?
Some maybe is, but I think, we're being trained to posture ourselves. We're being trained and we worry about what we put up and we kind of go, I've got to look amazing. And I think that there's a shift from I want to grow, I want to learn. I know I am vulnerable. I know that I've got gaps, to I cannot say that. I cannot say I want to grow. I cannot say I've not been successful. I cannot say I need help. It's very different. Plus, AI is coming in and people are worried about the impact of jobs. I mean, there's just so much going on in the world right now. So, I don't want to make Build Your Edge sound grand like it's the answer, but I think that there's a real need, a real gap in there for something that says, look, let's just be honest. Let's cut the crap a little bit. Let's think about what it is that people need right now in order that they can grow, in order that they can get better. And it's not about me. I don't have all of the answers, but I know that we will get a stream of good guests who come on who have got real experience in lots of things, and they can bring that and we can have a conversation and we can help the audience listen to that and then act. I mean, you mentioned at the top that we forget a lot of stuff and that we've got some stats that we can go through which just prove and one of the big differences about Build Your Edges, and we'll go through the 3 principles which all of the guests agree to, But the thing is, it's not just a passive thing. We don't really want people just to listen. I mean, they're welcome to, but we actually want people to grab what's useful and then put it into action so that they do actually get that sense of growth.
So Jeremy, you mentioned there's 3 core or clear principles from every episode. So like, what are they, and like, how have you like set them up?
Yeah. So in order to avoid being just one of those podcasts where it's a talking head, and there's loads of those and they're really, really good, but I don't want to build another one.
Yeah.
So whenever a guest is going to come on the show, there are 3 clear principles that they all agree to, and they are audience first, clear topic, and leave something behind. So what that means is audience first is the conversation that we have is focused on the audience. And it will vary. The audience will vary depending on what we're talking about, but we should always be thinking about some people. So it's not about me, the host. It's not about me and anything I want to talk about. It's not about the guest. It's not about how successful they are or how, their career. It's not about that unless it brings real context. We are focused very much on the audience. That's the first principle. The second principle is that each episode has a clear and specific topic. Otherwise, there's a risk we get together and we just kind of talk and we don't really convey anything.
Yep.
So in the preparation, I work with each guest and say, okay, what is it that you've got that you can talk about, that you can share, that the audience can learn? And then we build each episode around that clear topic. And finally, leave something behind. It's what I call it's your edge to go. So as part of the conversation, the example I give when I'm talking to potential guests is I say, imagine you make the best lasagna. So in the conversation, we will be helping people make better lasagna. And at the end of it, of course, you want the recipe. So the thing they leave behind is the recipe. But what we do during the conversation is we have the recipe and we talk through it. So, for example, the recipe might say, get really good meat or vegetables or whatever it is you're going to put in it. So then we will talk about why that's important and what happens if you don't have the right quality of ingredients. And then we talk about the temperature that it gets cooked at and why that's important. And we really help people. At the end of it, they should say, I now know how to make the much better lasagna than I could before.
I think like you're touching on like a prominent point there. Like there's a real thing, isn't there, called like the forgetting curve. I forget the name of like the founder of the principle, but I believe that if you listen to a podcast, you'll remember 5% of what you hear. If you read a book, you'll remember 10%. If you watch a video, you remember 20%. But all of those statistics, they're pretty low, which means that you're not really getting much value from them. However, when you actually put things into practice, those things change, the numbers shoot up. So if you engage in a group discussion, you'll retain 50% of the material. If you practice by doing, you'll retain 75% of the material. And I guess even better, if you teach it, share it, and apply it, you'll immediately retain 90% of it. Those numbers are, they vary depending upon format, the person, the topic. I guess like the principle is rock solid. Retention comes from doing.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what we are trying to create that is different to everything else that exists, is that you're not just listening. We'll give you the recipe. You go away, you try cooking that recipe. And once you've made it a couple of times and you've then shared that, you're more than likely be able to make that recipe again without actually having to reflect back on the notes, because you've been able to retain that information. Is that principle right?
Precisely that. Yeah. So if we pick a topic that's maybe more likely to come onto the show, and I'm picking one at random, actually, no, I won't pick one at random. I'll talk about one that is coming up. So I've got a really good coach coming on to talk about how to give feedback. Now, if you are at work, especially if you're a manager, if you are responsible for people, you will need to give feedback all the time. So you can listen to a podcast and you can maybe watch a video or you can read a book, just as you've described. And you'll increase a little bit because you'll learn a little bit. But the principle behind Build Your Edge is that we will go through that, and we will go through step by step and say, okay, what does good feedback look like? How do you deliver good feedback? What happens when someone isn't ready to receive the feedback? We'll go through all of those things. And then there'll be this digital asset at the end, which you can download, and it'll give you clear steps and some clear tips. And the asset could be a framework. It could be a template. It could just be an email. It could just be a crib sheet. It could be anything, but you can download that, and then you can put it into practice the next time, you've got a difficult feedback session coming up, get it out, read it through, put it into practice. And then the next time, as you described with the recipe, the next time you go into it, you don't even need that because you have learned from the guests that came on the show.
Yeah, I love that, mate. So I'm really looking forward to that podcast because, I think that there's a lot to be taken from it.
Yeah. Well, at the time that we're recording this, we've already got some in the bank. We've recorded some already, and we can maybe touch on some of those, but we've also got a long list of guests. So we've got something like 12 episodes booked up, ready to go. And then we've got another list. It's growing all of the time. I think right now, probably 10, 15. But the aim is that we're going to do this every week. And over time, there'll be a massive library, not just of hopefully interesting episodes that people can watch and listen to, but also because each one generates a resource, there's this massive library of resources which just builds up. And what it means is that you can think to yourself, okay, I've got something coming up and I want some tips for how to get through it better, or I want to improve in something. Well, it's a good place to start. Like, come here, have a little look, find an episode that's relevant, watch it, download the asset. And every guest who comes on isn't just bluffing their way through. They're not making it up. Yeah, they're all guests that have been through the challenge. They've understood, okay, I need to get better at something. They've done it themselves and they've put it into practice many, many, many times. They're sort of experts in what they do and what they bring. So the material will be really, really good.
Okay. We might touch on that, but we've talked about some of the statistics around knowledge retention and how it could be important for anyone listening, but we've got some actually quite alarming, quite some interesting stats for you. So the average listener who will consume a podcast is 47 minutes a day, 4.5 million podcasts globally. So why does this one deserve a spot in someone's day, in someone's week, in someone's month, in your opinion? Why should people do
that? That's a really good question. I think it comes back down to those three core principles. I think that anyone who tunes in, and it'll be audio, it'll be video, it'll be because they want to learn something, because they want to hear somebody not just talking about themselves really, but about something which connects with the listener. And so my hope is that when people listen to this, they put it down at the end and go, yeah, I learned something there. And, those statistics, even if they just watch the video, they'll retain 20% of what they hear a week later. But if they then follow what we're asking them to do, which is, pick up the asset, go put it into practice, they'll retain 90% of what they hear a week later. And so if you come back to the real mission of Build Your Edge, which is to help people build an edge in their work, career, and life, progressively, drip by drip by drip by drip, I hope that people get real benefit from this, and they enjoy it and they feel better after it. The first episode that will go out, so the one that will come out after this, is a lady that I've known for a long time. Her name is Eleanor, and she is an executive coach, and she deals with very successful people quite high up in the company, founders and CEOs and all the rest of it. And she has realized, and even she experienced it herself in her professional journey, that what people want is happiness at the end of the day. And that might sound sort of a bit trite, a bit, whatever, but it's true. And if you talk to anybody who is driven, they'll say, and if you listen behind the words they use, they're effectively saying, I'll be happy when I'm successful, when I earn this salary, when I drive that car, when I've got that house, when I've got that partner, family, whatever. There's lots of I'll be happy whens. And she's realized that a lot of people get through all of that. They get all of that success, particularly the people that she is dealing with, but they still feel very unfulfilled. And what's more, they look back and they realize what they've missed in that journey. You know, they've made too many compromises. They've given too many things up, often around family, seeing children grow up and whatever. So the happiness they were really working for doesn't come. And then they set another set of goals and go, well, okay, maybe I need a beach house now as well. So let me do that and then I'll be happy. So the lesson that she brings is for everybody, not just sort of really successful people, is really understand what makes you happy now. Yeah. What is it that would make you happy now? And just do it. And actually, if you can reach that state of happiness, then all the success that you want will actually be easier and will be more fulfilling. And for me, that's a really good example of the sort of guest that we want on and the sort of topic, because everybody can listen to that. You know, everybody can listen to that and realize what she's talking about and apply that to their own life.
Yeah, I love that subject. I think I've been fallen foul of that personally myself. I've recognized it. I've done something about it myself through having my own life coach, but that comes at a cost. It comes at time and expense, which not everyone has access to. So the benefit of this is that we're giving that to the hands of the people who probably need it the most, right? So you talked about like the mission, what we're trying to create, what we're trying to build. What's like the bigger picture here, mate? So like fast forward, like say 5 years from now, like what does Build Your Edge look like? What is like the longer term vision? What kind of people, what kind of topics can we expect along that way? And hopefully that gives people an idea of the journey that they will then come on with us, which I think for us is an important factor, as we'll then start to, if we enjoy it, then other people enjoy coming on that journey with us, which gives us our pursuit of happiness. So
let's talk first about the audience, right? I want the guests to be audience first, so we should also be audience first. So the audience is very broad. A lot of people who I'm talking to be guests say, who's your target audience? And it's a very hard question to answer, because it's not, female managers who have been in their job for 10 years and are looking for the next stop. It's not like really, really narrow. It's very, very broad. It's almost anybody who's got a job or anybody who's alive. It's just almost anybody, because we will cover such a breadth of topics that there'll be something for everyone. But I think if I were to put it all together, if you think about the mission, which is to help you build an edge in your work, career, and life, we will be talking about work things. We will be talking about, I've mentioned feedback already. It may be setting personal goals, which is an episode that we've already recorded. So how do you set a good personal goal? But then how do you actually achieve it rather than just leaving it over as a wishy dream? And so it's a very broad range of people. I hope that the guests are interesting. So actually anybody can listen to any one of the episodes and find it interesting. And the second question that people ask me when they want to be a guest is, and they're not quite this blunt, but I know what they're meaning. They say, is this just a flash in the pan? Are you going to like give up? Is it going to be sort of 3 episodes and you forget it? And the answer to that is no. If you talk about 5 years, we should be doing an episode roughly every week. So by the end of the year, we'll have something like 50 episodes in the bank. Lots of good guests, lots of good topics, lots of resources building up in this library. And so if you go forward 5 years, it should be a really good, well-known resource where people can just turn to and say, I've got my performance review coming up. How do I prepare for that? How do I put myself in the best position to get a 4 or 5 or get promoted? How do I get myself that raise? And so they should be able to come here and find the right episode and go and listen to it, and then not just be kind of energized and go, okay, that sounded great, but actually have some resources to download and go, right, I need to do this, 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 and this. Here's my action plan. Be better prepared and then get a better result.
I think about myself as a listener when I listen to podcasts, and it could be a little bit subjective week to week, down to have I had a tough conversation with my boss and I've got a situation of conflict that I now need to deal with, and more than likely I might not have gone onto the podcast to go and find that specifically, but I might be able to then find that within like Build Your Edge. So hopefully like there is a array of subjects, like you said, that is suitable for absolutely like everyone.
Maybe I can also touch on aspirations a little bit as well. It sounds very grand to pick successful podcasts and say, I want to be like them.
Yeah.
But I think you have to, right? I think you've got to pick a target and say, that's a really good model and that works.
Yeah.
And there are two that come to mind. One is clearly The Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett. Now, some people like them, some people like it, some people don't. But if you look at the format, it's a great target.
Yeah.
You know, interesting guests, interesting conversation, a host who's fairly disconnected from the topic and asks really good questions. So I want to model that here. I want to have that same kind of, and if I could be 1/10 of success of the success that he gets, super. The second is a podcast that I listened to early in my career. When I moved from sort of being an engineer into management, I listened to this thing called Manager Tools. And it's two people who run a management consultancy. And each week they pick a topic. It could be, in our case, like feedback or something. And they just go through it step by step by step by step. And again, it's very applicable. So I want to try and bring those two things together and create an environment where we're doing that, where we've got a good, entertaining show, well produced, and really good material that people can take away and use. By the way, I'm not scared to say that I want it to be successful. I'm not scared to say that I want this to become a brand that's very well known. I'm not scared to say I want it to be something that lots and lots of people watch. That's the aspiration.
So just to summarize then, so is a podcast, people listen to the podcast. We've got the website, Build Your Edge website. People can go onto the Build Your website. So they've listened to a podcast. They like what they've heard. They can go and find the digital asset. They can download the digital asset. What else would the website potentially have 5 years from now to give an idea of maybe how the product starts to expand and build? What ideas do you have?
Yeah, lots and lots and lots. So I've already mentioned that, I enjoy mentoring people. I've mentored loads of people. I've seen them go from, almost factory jobs to becoming really good engineers at top companies.
Yep.
I love coaching people. I love managing people. I love seeing people grow from, an engineer into a manager, into a leader. I love helping companies with strategy. In my role as a kind of more of a senior lead inside a company, I love getting involved in the strategy. I love challenging and pushing back. I love the sense of helping a company grow. And there's a limit on what you can do with that. It's sort of a series of individual interactions, and therefore you're limited by time. My hope is that with Build Your Edge, because we're getting a lot of good guests on, and quite a lot of them are coaches, we can also build up a gallery of coaches, a gallery of people that they can reach out to and get one-on-one help. Maybe it's just a mentoring community where people can come and they can share what they're struggling with, and people can just talk to them and help. Maybe it's a list of books. I mean, I've written my own book, so clearly I'd love people to buy that. But other books, some of my guests already have written or are writing books about particular things. Get them on there. So it becomes this much broader community, a much broader library. We're also going to be doing some events. So start small, meetups. We'll have topics and guests, get people along, do it in the flesh, do it real, do it live. And maybe in the future, even bigger events, because there's a clear need for people to come together and learn and hear from people who've done it before and pick up tips and go away better.
Love it. So what we're getting then is that we have got the podcast. We've then got the digital assets that people can download. We've almost then got like a marketplace that if you wanted to, if you listen to Jeremy, you've downloaded his asset, you've you've read his book. You now want to speak to Jeremy around coaching services. You can do that via the Build Your Edge platform, and then much further into the future, there is then like in-person live podcast events, which might be an exclusive thing, maybe to our subscribers, where they can then get the in-networking. The in-networking experience and that community feel of like you're actually part of something that is not just an online thing. Is a much bigger thing that they then have access to.
Correct.
Love it.
Somebody that I was not exactly coaching, but somebody who was starting a business came to me and said, how do I get this off the ground? And I didn't know much about his business, but in talking to him, I recognized that he was going to find it really hard to get people to start to pay for their service. That's the big barrier that people have to get over. So my advice to him was start a movement, start something where people begin to talk about this thing and people get involved. And if, by the way, they happen to buy his product, so much the better. And I think I'm taking my own advice here, really. I'd love this to become a movement. I'd love this to become like the Build Your Edge movement, where people do come to the events that you've described and do join in and do want to get on stage and do want to share their lessons and do want to come along. And this just feeling of constant improvement, constant over, life is full of challenges. I've been in many places where I think, I'm sorted now. Like I've got this, and this, everything's fine. And then something else pops up and throws you off track. Yeah. There's always that next challenge. So I want this movement of people who go, I understand that. And when that next challenge pops up, a good place to start is Build Your Edge.
Class. And I agree, mate. I think that there is like a bit of a community crisis at the moment, or a community need, or a movement, because of AI. And we live in an imperfect world, right? And everyone's like pushing AI. Everything looks glossy. Everything looks perfect. But in the real world, nothing is perfect. Nothing is glossy. So this gives the window of opportunity to have real, honest, direct conversations, maybe almost pulling back the curtain around, let's just see what actually happens day to day in the real life of a business. We're giving you the exposure to sometimes the subjects and sometimes the people that you might not necessarily have the exposure to, maybe down to the leveling that you are within the business, but giving you the opportunity to maybe excel to where you need to go. So
completely. I love what you touch on there. And again, it comes back to one of the principles of, I don't want guests who just come on and paint perfection. Yeah. Look at me, look how amazing I am. Look at what I've succeeded in. Look at my amazing company. Look how successful we are. I'm sure that happens, but I want much more connection. I want some vulnerability. I want people to come on and say, I faced a real challenge. I did not know what to do, and here's how I overcame it. It's much more about that, because then someone listening or watching can do something about that. They can say, yeah, I've got that challenge too. Now I know how to overcome it or how to avoid something.
The listeners are probably thinking, okay, so why is Jack interviewing Jeremy? Why are we having this conversation? We never met on a podcast. So should we go back to the beginning for a minute? This isn't our first time working together, and you might say that we met out in the wild. Let's face it, recruitment, hiring can often feel like you're left out in the jungle to survive. So should we tell the listeners like how we come together and maybe how our roles play when it comes to building your edge?
Of course, yes. So you and I met because, like any recruiter, you kind of chased me around a little bit. And eventually I got off my high horse and went, yeah, okay, Jack. And I came to one of your events, which was the Technology Leadership Forum. And I remember the event. It was very different. It was very well organized. The one that I came to, I think, was about AI, and you had tables with different rooms and different speakers. It was very interactive. It wasn't just listening to somebody roll on about stuff.
Yep.
And I really enjoyed it. And clearly you and I met that night and we had a chat. I think we spoke about holidays and stuff. It wasn't really particularly about anything to do with work, but we hit it off. We're like, yeah, he seems like a decent enough chap. And then you reached out to me about a potential job, and I went through that process. And through that, we met each other properly, because if you recruiters are much maligned, right? It's kind of an easy joke to make, but recruiters do an amazingly difficult job, and they bring fantastic value to the people that they serve, whether that's people who are hiring or whether it's people who are trying to get a job, right? They're real. You bring real value because you connect people. And if you do that correctly in that process, you really understand the recruiter. Like, what is it what do I trust this person? Are they really acting in my best interests?
Yeah.
There's a lot of ghosting going on, all the rest of it. And you have to sniff that out. And the recruiter would also really understand the person. Can I put this person into this job because effectively they're representing me? Do I trust them? Are they making up stuff to get the job and actually they're not going to succeed? Are they motivated enough? Because you want to put the best candidates forward. And so through that process, we really sort of found out a lot about each other. I'm very sarcastic. I think you worked that out fairly early on, which is good.
Yeah.
And we started to have a laugh a little bit. But then more than that, we began to talk about, well, what does really drive us? And at the time, I think I was writing my book. Yeah, my book is called Earn More, Move Up. And it was all about helping people in the workplace, how to get through performance reviews, how to get promoted, how to get new jobs. And through talking through that, we realized that actually we've got a set of common aims. We're all trying to do the same thing. And when we then, you began to talk about what you wanted to do with the Technology Leadership Forum and with the community in general. And I then brought up my idea for what I was doing. And we really quickly connected and thought, actually, there's a lot of commonality here. We're trying to do the same thing. And Build Your Edge could well be a really good vehicle that would help you achieve what you're trying to do. And that's not, hire more people and make more money, but to build this sense of community, this sense of trying to help people. That's how I see it.
I think firstly, mate, you've shined a positive light on the world of recruitment. Let's not forget, like, the entry point is pretty low, and I'd say that at least like 80% of like recruiters out there are probably not doing recruitment in the way that we are doing recruitment. And for us, it's always about like understanding people has been like core to our mission that we do. We've always cared about doing the right thing. We've cared about creating value through content, through events, and obviously, of course, like helping people like through those like career transitions. And you've been fortunate enough to obviously have a taste of at least two of those things, or at least three of those things. You do like my content from time to time. Yeah, I think that you're obviously contributing to all of those factors at the moment. But when you started to describe like Build Your Edge to me, I knew that the Technology Leadership Forum, there was something missing. And I knew that together we could build something that was not just good, not just great, but something that was extra special. So, and it would help us create value in the way that no one else is currently doing so in the marketplace.
Yeah.
So it just made absolute sense to build this together.
And I think also we both gain from it because you have exposure. You have built a sort of a side industry around your business and your company for getting that reach that you really, really need. That really helps me. So it's a real good coming together. We've got we have the same drive, the same set of ambitions, and we bring different things to the party. And so I think it's going to be a great relationship.
Yeah, I bring the hairline, you bring the cheekbones.
I don't bring any hair, that's for sure.
Any final words, mate? So if there was like one thing that you want listeners to take away from this episode, like what is that message? What is that one thing that you want them to take today?
Yeah. I'll actually reflect on a guest that I've got coming up. I think we're recording tomorrow as it happens. Stepping out and doing something is quite a risk. I don't know what I'm doing, right? I'm trying and I'm learning and I'm making mistakes. The guest that I've got coming up has done the same thing and he's really doing it. And we're going to talk about how he's seen his LinkedIn followership increase. And unfortunately, that's a metric, right? That's what people are trying to do. And I reached out to him and said, can we have a chat? Mm-hmm. And the episode is all about what he calls practice in public, which I think is a fantastic concept, because you can sit with an idea and go, oh, wouldn't it be good if?
Yeah.
And what puts you off is you don't like the way you look. You don't like the way you sound. You don't think you're good enough. You don't think anybody will listen. And there's lots and lots of reasons why you shouldn't start something, why you should just stay safe and just keep doing what you've what you've always been doing.
Yeah.
So I feel that, right? I feel, I'm putting myself out there. You're putting yourself out there, Jack. And it's easy for people to look and kind of go, whatever. But what my hope is that actually people give it a go. People listen and watch. I've got some amazing guests. Some of the ones I've recorded already, they're fantastic people. So give it a go. Listen, drop your guard. Don't judge the quality and all the rest of it. Listen to the podcast.
Better. It will get better.
It will get better. It will get better.
It'll get better as soon as I've stopped interviewing you, and then you just take over the ropes and do the thing that you.
I'm sure you'll be on here more than that, Jack. But see what we're trying to do. Listen to that mission and see how it applies to you, and think, okay, I could do with a bit of that. There's always things that I could do with. I could. An episode that will come up and we'll be talking about, for example, I've got somebody coming up who's talking about how finding a job is like being in sales, which it is, right? You've got to sell yourself. You've got to understand how to do that properly, how to write your pitch, which is your CV, how to promote yourself on LinkedIn, how to apply, how to go through the interview process, right? Everybody needs that. So my big hope is that people come and look and watch and listen. If they like what they see, tell other people, because if it is good, please don't just keep it to yourself as a little secret. Tell someone. I really want this to grow. Not for me, not through, like my sense of ego or anything at all like that, although I do have an ego. But purely,
and it could be a good thing, right?
Yeah. I guess I wouldn't be trying if I didn't have a bit of an ego. But because, I believe it's needed. I believe that we need this. I believe that people need to do what we're doing. So I want it to grow, and I want it to become good, and I want people to share it, and I want people to get value. That's what I hope.
Class. I think it's important people know what our roles and responsibilities are within this. So for context, my role is that I will look after I'm the muscle.
Please don't say I'm the looks.
Yeah, no. You're the looks, mate. So I'm the muscle. I've got the network. I've got the arm. I've got the reach to get high quality guests who have a thing to say, who I either know on a personal level, or I've spent enough time observing their content and know that they are going to have something that is going to serve our audience in the way that they deserve. So, and I was help with brand, content, distribution, and your role, mate, is to essentially be the looks, the cheekbones, the flair, because you speak the language of the people, and quite frankly, you've got more time on your side.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, this is a passion project, and I'm surprised how involved it is. There's a lot of work goes into every episode. I think every episode takes 2 days to prep, properly. A lot of that is on me, but every guest commits 4 hours to come on the show. And then, of course, it takes a couple of days to edit it and push it out. So each episode takes the best part of a week to put out, because we want it to be good. We want it not just to sort of be a random, arrive at a time, 10 o'clock, start talking and drop away. We want it to be much better than that. And you're right. I think that this partnership sounds very business-like and formal. I don't mean it in that sense. I mean this relationship that we've got is
romantic relationship.
This romantic relationship, this love affair, will only help it get better and bigger, and that's my aim.
Perfect. So I guess if this is sparked something in you, as Jeremy said, please don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to get exclusive access to like all future material and invites to live podcast events, which is very much on our radar. Share it if you feel that podcast is going to help you, and if it's helped you and it will help others level up around you. And join us for the next episode, because your edge might be just one episode away. So if this resonates with you, please pass it on, because that's how good ideas are shared. And if you feel like you've got what it takes to become a guest, or have a topic in mind, you can find me and Jeremy on the links, the tools, the guest details in the comment box. I'm Jack Cole. Thanks for joining us on Build Your Edge. See you next time, where Jeremy Burns will interview on a very important subject, which is the pursuit of happiness.
Thanks, Jack.